This is the 21st season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guide Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. Got an exciting show today. The highly liked, well-liked, the highly rated shows where we go through game footage from tournament competition. It's back. I'll tell you what I was doing. I was sitting around this past week, obviously watching the great coverage that Bassmaster had of the final Bassmaster Elite Series stop of the season on the Mississippi River, which had a little bit of aura and intrigue to it, considering the defending and reigning Angler of the Year, Chris Johnson, was going up against the up-and-coming Trey McKinney, who was looking to get his first Angler of the Year and becoming the youngest anglers ever to win the Angler of the Year. They had the same number of points going into the final event. And then their next closest competitor was a Wisconsinite in Jay Shakuret. Plus, you had some local hammers in it. So I was watching that footage, and as everything was playing out beautifully on Bassmaster, and the Bassmaster crew was doing a good job of breaking it down on who's what and who's where and who's in and who's out. I don't think they got enough credit for how hard that is to do on the fly in a bass fishing tournament when guys are weighing fish and some guys are putting it in and some guys aren't. You've got cameras and you're trying to do a live. So they did a good job of trying to do turn it into like that NASCAR, that golf, when a guy makes a birdie and all of a sudden he's in the cut and then he's out of the cut when the other guy makes the birdie. So anyway, in between that, I was during their commercial breaks, I was also flipping over and then watching on my phone. Chris Zaldain has been doing the first to last cast live coverage, and somehow him and Trey and Charles have figured out how to do good audio, good cell phone, not self-service, it's Starlink stuff, unless he's under a bridge, chesty cam, wide angle cam, and screen share on the Garmin with the LVS 34. So I was watching it, and I was watching Chris suck it up on day one when he had 4 for 8 pounds. And I was actually pretty intrigued watching it because, it reminded me of me struggling in the opens. And then I thought, some of the best shows that I really enjoyed doing, that I thought were some of the most educational shows for BTL, was when back in the day, Hallman would come in and we would take clips from the day and then we would analyze them, like John Gruden, NFL, college game tape footage, because there's a bunch of stuff, not a bunch. There's some stuff Chris did that I was intrigued with. There's some stuff Chris did that I had no idea why he did it. And then there's other stuff that he did that I'd love to know why he did it. So I've known Chris since he was fishing out of a Bass Cat, driving like a 1978 Ram, I think it was, from the West Coast, just trying to make it as a professional bass angler. So I called Chris up and I said, hey, I want to bring this show back. I want to do a game film type show where we go really deep into the weeds as the who, what, why, where, when, and use clips from your show. So him and Charles stayed up late last night and they pulled some of the best clips. So we're going to get Chris in and we are going to do quite literally a deep dive into his Mississippi River tournament, which was awesome because it was one of the biggest comebacks to finish in the top 50, to cash a check, to make the third day cut on the Bassmaster Elite Series this year. So we're going to get into all that. Before we bring Chris in, I do want to mention the Challenge Cup going on in Port Huron, Michigan on the MLF side. I love the team format. We had Team Smoky Mountain, which unfortunately yesterday made a rather quick exit back to Arizona, and Josh Bertrand and Dean Rojas. But they basically have 12 teams, 4 teams compete each day. Basically, they fly in, they fish out of their boats or drive in, and you get one day to finish in the top 2. If you finish in the top 2, you move on. If you don't, you're one and done. So the first day, The Joneses smoked everybody. They doubled everyone up. AJ and AJ Jr. Are on to the next one, along with Bobby Lane and Jacob Wall. So Michael Neal, Brett Chapman, John Hunter, Cooper, they're headed home. And then yesterday, Martin Villa, Ron Nelson, no surprise there in that neck of the woods. Yeah, I feel like Team Smoky Mountain maybe got a little bit of a bad draw because I had to compete against the Hall of Famers Mark Davis and Gary Klein, and then one of the biggest home field advantages in Ron Nelson with Martin Villa. So those two teams advanced, and then the West Coast guys did not fare well with Ayler and Lucas and Team Ferguson and Bertrand and Rojas. So another match today, the Final Four going on with that before they move on to the knockout rounds. So, all right, let's get into this. I'm a little rusty on it. We've got all sorts of clips. We've got everything, but professional truck driver, when they're not fishing, these guys just get in the road and book it. Chris Zaldain, thanks for jumping on BTL this morning. I'm excited to see how this goes down, and I think this could be a really good learning show for the BTL viewers.
Good morning. Yeah, I'm all about it, man. It's really cool when you could do, back when I played hockey, we used to have video night, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right before our practices on Wednesday night. You analyze, the weekend before, the games prior to the big game coming up this weekend. And although the season's over, it is so nice to go back and look at clips and do this with you because not only hopefully you guys will learn something today about what to do, what not to do, how to go for it. But also myself, I learned by watching myself and analyzing, how we did the game prior. So, I'm sitting here, Matt, we brought it up the last show, but the Cook's champagne that Mark Jeffries gave me, I don't know, 9-10 years ago for when I win my first blue trophy, it is still unopened. And we didn't open it this year. We tried like hell last week to try to get ourselves a classic berth, but, it's going to have to wait till next year.
Yeah, an interesting year for you. I mean, you look at 82nd place out of the 100 guys in, and you're like, man, what a crappy year. But then you look at it in the second half of the season, you top 50 4 out of your last 5 and fished on day 3 and over half of the Elite Series events. Just kind of an odd year, just like barely a tick off is kind of what it seemed like.
And no doubt. And if you look at those finishes, man, I finished like 40th to 50th in those top 50s.
Yeah, you had a 50th, a 49th, a 39th, a 47th, and a 48th.
But that's a great summary of how my year has gone. And although I made that Saturday cut, it's like I was so far out of it in points. Like I just went for it. And we'll see with some of these clips, and it's no different on the Mississippi River where, I went for it the only way I know how, and that's doing the swim bait stuff. So hopefully, if nothing else, if you're not entertained, we'll try to teach you a little something about trying to get a bigger bite, and we definitely did that on day 2. So, but first of all, I mean, Chris Johnson, congratulations, bro. Excellent job. I mean, he smoked us yet again 2 years in a row. That's so hard to do. Also, Tucker Smith, man, rookie of the year. That guy's an absolute hammer stick, and no surprise there. Growing up and idolizing and fishing with Aaron Martins.
Yeah, Tucker's had an interesting route because he won that high school championship kind of 3 years in a row, and I would say outside of Jordan Lee, who had a lot of pressure in college, not so much in high school, Tucker's had that kind of expectation put on him from an even younger age. With the back-to-back, and then with his relationship with A-Mart and a lot of people in the industry, sponsors, other anglers saying, hey, this kid is like going to be insanely good. He already is insanely good. And then you look at, when he jumped in the opens, he had that, it was a debacle there at Eufaula in Alabama. And there are a number of different ways that could have gone. Like, quite frankly, that scenario could have ruined his career. Based on how he dealt with it. It could have really damaged his reputation moving forward. I thought, by and large, man, the kid kept his head down. He let his rod and reel and the standings do the talking. Every time that I've interacted, met with him, had him on the show, saw him on the water, super respectful, humble, understanding of the sport, insanely talented, and exceptionally well deserving of that title. And I think that'll just be kind of like we saw he's got a couple trophies now, but man, I really like that Rookie of the Year title in his cabinet that I think is going to get shuffled around quite regularly for the next 20 years as he adds more and more pieces of hardware.
No doubt. And you've only got one shot, only one 12-month period to secure that Rookie of the Year title. And then you become an old guy.
What do you remember about your rookie season? Like, were you intimidated? Was it quiet? Like, what comes to mind?
Dude, like scared, being from California, fishing all these new, scary, huge lakes. I mean, California, we don't have a lot of big lakes out there. So I remember my rookie season when I met you guys back in 2011, 2012 was my rookie season, but qualifying first in points. And by the way, fishing the opens and finishing first in points, I mean, that is doing something nowadays. It seems like when I did it, it seemed like it was easy, but that's how it is when you're winning and doing well. Like, everything comes easy. But yeah, my rookie season, 2012, man, just everything was scary. Rounding a corner and seeing KVD throwing a square bill on a point, mm-hmm. You want to throw a swim bait on. It's like, wow.
The rookies don't seem scared anymore. You think that's because of they can watch you on the bilge and they can watch your tournament footage and they can interact on social media. So it's not just a magazine or at an event when they have a chance to see or interact, to where it's more humanizing.
I think it's the tools available now. The only tool available, it seemed like me growing up, getting into the game, was time on the water, some Bassmaster magazine stuff. But nowadays, the tools the kids have, the high school, you use the high school fishing platform as a tool, the college stuff as a tool, deep dive app, YouTube. Like, I mean, all you got to do now is, hey, if I'm going up to Leech Lake, I've got a tournament in September. You go to YouTube and you type Leech Lake smallmouth bass fishing in September, and you could draw so much useful information out of that and use that during a tournament. And that's what those kids do. They just focus on winning that week.
All right, let's get into this past week on the Mississippi River.
Yeah,
it was the biggest comeback of the season from what I could find. Day one, you knew Mississippi River. It's like the fourth time you guys have been there. Weights not as big, a little bit stingy, but going into that day, just kind of talk a little bit about how the river was setting up, what your game plan was just going into the first day in practice.
Yeah, so Mississippi River, you heard all the guys say it on stage, man, it was changing, and it was changing frequently. Being in later August or mid-August, they had a lot of rain and a lot of heat up in that upper Wisconsin area or mid-Wisconsin area. So I was so when I left St. Clair, we had a week off. I was on the deep dive app literally all week long, looking at stream flows, current flows, water level, water clarity. And those two things, water level and water clarity, were a big deal for trying to break down the mighty Mississippi River up there. And what I saw was, after all that rain we had during our practice period, I saw that water level rising and rising and rising. And there's two things with that. One, it's going to bring mud. So I was able to stay away from the mud. That burnt a lot of dudes. All you got to do is look on the app and you can see where all the different stream flows are, which rivers and tributaries have the most mud influence. So I stayed the heck away from those. That burnt a lot of guys. I talked to guys in practice. Oh, I'm catching 15, 20 fish on a swim jig on this cut bank right next to this outflow. Well, after 2 days of practice and rain, that got all muddy and blown out. So a lot of guys scrambled there. And then also the big one for me, and you'll see in these upcoming clips here, was water level and what it did to the pool above, to where it was pushing water over the spillway I was fishing. It was pushing current on the bridges and neck points I was fishing, and it set up really good for a swim bait, and it got right on day two. So what I want to show you is a couple clips from day one. 8 pounds, 8 ounces on day one, just an absolute disaster of the day. But I went for it, man. I mean, I threw a glide bait out of the 9-hour day I had. I threw a glide bait, 7.5 to 8 hours. And then, it was just a typical California approach. Throw something really, really big or really, really tiny. So, yeah, we'll get into that first clip here. I think this first one on day one, where, again, I was so low in points where I needed a win to make the Bassmaster Classic. And the only way to do that, in my opinion, was by doing something different. Everyone's doing the swim jig thing. Everyone's doing the frogging thing. Everyone's doing the punching thing. And although the Mississippi River is a huge river and you could find a little stuff to yourself, I wanted to do stuff like this right here. Clear Lake, California fishing 101 in the early fall. And here we go. What I'm targeting is like deep rocks, deep man-made structure and cover. And I've had guys come up to me afterwards, locals at the weigh-in, and say, "Hey, man, like a month from now, like you would have blown away the tournament." So apparently, it gets really good in these areas a month from now, but we sent it anyways. So yeah, here we are sitting on 0 fish. And I'm throwing a Roman right now. I'm throwing a KGB glide bait. It's a big 8-inch glide bait here, and look how aggressive I'm ripping this thing. I located a big school here during the practice period, but I'm just looking for a huge reaction of a 5 or 6 pounder, because I know if I connect and land a fish on this thing, it's going to be the difference maker that puts you in the top 3 automatically with one big fish. And so I'm just kind of that right there. I just had a giant bite. I hooked it. It came off. And if you notice here, look at the head of my trolling motor. It's pointed to that bridge piling. You can see some fish swimming around. But I'm not one of those guys with the glide bait, Matt, that has to track it with his forward-facing sonar. I'm the type of guy who likes to have a little fun and be surprised by that bite. I want to work hard as an angler to present that giant gizzard shad profile to a 5-pounder and get surprised by that bite. And to be quite honest with you, if I had that transducer pointed at that glide bait the whole time, man, when you see him come up on it, I feel like it messes up my cadence. So just blind casting it there, I did get a bite, but I missed that one. And that is a good, again, a good summary of how my day went.
You're casting to that far. What you're looking at right here is here's the head of your trolling motor, and it's pointed directly towards this bridge piling.
It's actually pointed at that first bridge piling.
This one right here?
Yep.
So you're coming down this edge.
Yep.
So what is this all just
That's
bait?
all bait at the bottom.
Or what is
Correct.
that?
That's all bait towards the bottom there in that 12 to 14 foot range. Looks like there's a bass suspended up top, but these are little fish. Guys like Koya Fujita would come to that same exact spot. I fished around him a lot. I mean, I stayed real close to home there. Guys like Koya would literally pull up and throw a little fuzzy whatever, anything fuzzy, and put dice or ball or whatever it is, and catch these fish that are suspended on that piling right there. But, I wasn't there for points. I was there to hit a home run every single time I pulled up to a juicy swim bait spot like
so
this.
Is that a bass right there that's in the bait, you think? Or?
Yeah, it kind of looks like it is. There were also white bass in the area, but notice how that bait is just chilling along the bottom and not scared. They're not pushed upwards. And we'll get into it a little bit later on day 2 when I put the trolling motor down on a spot like this. I mean, the bait was just super high. Things were happening. But to me, as I look at that bait fish right there around that bridge piling is not scared. It's not threatened. So those gives you kind of clues on how to work the bait. I'm going to work it just a little bit faster. I'm going to cut it a little bit harder to where this glide bait is really, looking real erratic. Just trying to trigger a big bite.
All right. And then one of the things that I noticed, you struggled the majority of day 1. There was a lot of stuff where you went in and you tried some frog stuff. You tried some moving bait stuff. And it was interesting to me. You had 3 fish with like an hour left. And I noticed you said like you had not had a bite in probably 2 hours. And you said something to the effect of there comes a point in every person's tournament where they accept the fact that they're not going to weigh in a limit. And you go, I haven't accepted that fact yet. What made you think that you were going to get some more opportunities in the remaining 45 minutes of that first day?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I said it with about 15 to 20 minutes to go, sitting on 3 fish. The weigh-in is right there. I just have to idle over to check in. And this particular area, they've got a lot of tournaments around there. And there are a lot of offshore rock piles, as we've seen in the past with Aaron Martins. I've had some good tournaments on those offshore rock piles close to home there. The sun was getting higher, and I started to notice that the fish were relating to those offshore rock piles. And when I say offshore, it's just off the bank and anywhere from 8 to 12 feet of water. So I still had the confidence that I could throw a little tiny lunker log on a Neko rig and 6-pound test. And and coax a few bites in the last 15 minutes. Well, I had those bites in the last 15 minutes. So with about 12 minutes to go, I catch one. And then with about 6 minutes to go, let's see, it's 4:22. I got to check in at 4:30. So with 8 minutes to go, I make a cast to this rock pile right here.
And that
for
rock pile, is it on this drop or is it like really? So
it's on the drop. Yep. You'll see me pan over. And the big thing here, they've got zebra mussels here. You'll start to see these pilings here, but there's some old piling there right there. So right there's an old bridge piling right there, and a lot of release fish go there. A lot of residence fish goes there. But with the sun high, they were stuck to those rock piles, and I knew I could get a bite.
And is that, and I know you use an interesting color palette here. The Hulk color palette is what I call that, like where he changes. That's that color green. Is that bright right there? How you know that that's a rock pile because the return is so much harder?
Yes. Okay. Yes. So I kind of, the color gain, I kind of, after St. Clair, I had my color gain down, and that's a little trick for you guys, for the live scope guys, is when you're trying to separate fish from targets like these pilings, like the grass at St. Clair, you bring your color gain down, and it takes that white blown out look away from it. So here I am, 7 minutes to go, 6 minutes to go, and I finally get a good
And is
bite.
that right there? Did I see that fish that was on the second?
Yep. Yeah, you sure did. And by the way, again, going back to the zebra mussel things, the cast before this, I got hung up. And, with 7, 8 minutes to go, I'm like, oh, I just need to keep casting. I got hung up, and it popped free. I think I checked my hook, but I didn't quite check my line. So even a 14-year veteran guy.
Is that just a timing deal then, because you're trying to?
Timing. It's all timing. If I had 7 minutes. If I had 9 minutes, I would have retied.
Okay. And you lean up. What are we working with? Line, rod, reel here on this? Yeah.
So light line, same exact setup from St. Clair, catching big smallmouth. This is just a 2500 series reel, a 610 medium rod. So it's a drop shot rod, a little proto we're working on. It's 16-pound Seaguar PEX 8 braid. It's an 8 carrier braid, super smooth. With I think I went 6-pound test because this place got hammered. 2 Japanese guys were in there. Jay Shakir was in there. Some of the best minnow shakers and dice throwers that are on tour fishing this exact same stuff. So light tackle. Hooked up. Oh, broke it off. 6 minutes to go, break off my 5th keeper. And Matt, you know the drill, man. When you're in a tournament and it's winding down, you look down and all of a sudden there's 20 minutes left. You don't have a limit. That it's a literal weight on your shoulders. And I'm streaming live here. Trey has done a phenomenal job with this whole setup here, the live setup. And trust me, there are words that I wanted to use that I couldn't because I knew there were, still 1,600 people watching live or whatever it was. And trust me, I was mad that, you finally get to be. I mean, and again, I didn't have the classic on the line unless, I was in contention to win. So after throwing the glide bait all day, finally get a bite on the finesse rig and you biff it like that. So not happy.
Yeah. Listen, I know the feed's a little choppy, guys. That's a StreamYard issue. I know the guys are having an issue with that on Bass After Dark before. What I'm going to end up doing is we're going to roll through it. It's a little bit choppy now. It's perfectly smooth on my end and on the replay end. So if you're listening to it live and choppy, you can get through the choppy. It's not Chris's audio. It's not my audio. It's a StreamYard session. So I'm going to re-render it after the show and then put it out. It'll be perfectly smooth. So we're just going to keep rolling with it. So we'll just have to, this will just be like a show. Like, remember you had the CDs back in the day that would have the scratch on it, and there'd be like one little section of typically like your favorite song is if you let your buddy borrow it. Yeah, like mine was like the Creed CD or the Nickelback CD back in the day.
And if you look here too in this clip, that bridge piling, right behind that bridge pile on the other side of that bridge, there's a launch ramp right there. That's the main launch ramp where so many tournaments go out of. There have been so many bass caught on this rock pile, and they just keep reloading.
Yeah, and is that fish that you lost right there?
I think so. I think it is. Yeah.
Because right at the end, and he's just kind of Yeah, just kind of floating around.
See how he's set up right on the edge? He's set up to, he's feeding, you know, that fish is feeding. Again, I caught one about 4 casts before this. They were biting right there, just ran out of time.
Very interesting. So day 1, you end up finishing
97th place. Yes, 97th place. 8 pounds, 8 ounces for 4 bass. Again, but no regrets though. I mean, I did the glide bait thing for pretty much all tournament. I did not pick up maybe 1 or 2 casts with my 5-inch dangerous loaded swim bait. And that's the exact same bait that, you know, a lot of guys caught them on 10 killer. I had like 3 dudes at 10 killer come up to me too. Hey, do you have this? Do you have? Of course, man. I got you. And there were several guys in the top 20 throwing it, but did not pick it up day 1, but day 2.
Yeah. Now, one of the clips on day 1 that I show is you ran up into that Black River area, which has been an exceptionally popular area. I mean, we've seen a bunch of guys catch them there, from Cliff Perch to Brandon Polinick to, I mean, Aaron, it's popular, but you mentioned Koya on that. And I think you kind of had to alter your game plan. It seemed like on the final 3 hours, you went in there to get a limit and then you knew there was some quality in there, but like you weren't able to get to make the milk run that you wanted to because of where other anglers were.
Correct. No, that's it. Day 1, as you saw, I was fishing the bridge and a lot of offshore structure. I did not get up to that spillway area. Again, looking at the deep dive app, knowing that the pool above has risen a half a foot, 3/4 of a foot. The app showed me clear as day. So these spillways, they spill over the face. That spillway, that dam never changes. Obviously, it's concrete. The only thing that changes is the water level. During practice, the water level was lower than the spillway. And the deep dive app showed me that water level rose and was spilling over that spillway. And being 87th in points or whatever I was, the boat positions flip-flop. So I was, boat 15 out or whatever it was. So I was going day 2. I was starting on that outflow. I think this next clip here is me starting.
Yeah, so here it is, day 1. You're one of 7 guys who didn't have a limit. Absolute wild bottom 10 on this though. If you want to do Patrick Walters, Kyle Welcher, Brian New, Bernie Schultz, who always catches them up north, Carl Jacobson, and then 2 of the best young anglers on tour right now, and Paul Marks, who has a win as well, and Cody Huff.
Yeah.
So
Patrick Walter, look at that. Taku 91st. Yeah. I mean, this is in his wheelhouse too. The river was fishing very, very stingy. Again, that made it easier for me to like swing for it with the negotiator, with a KGB glide bait, with a swim bait.
So going into day 2, you knew you were sticking with the big stuff then.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, just although the day previous, you know, you had a lot of looks, you had a lot of just bite it but not get it. So my thinking was, all right, let's put the glide bait thing down. Although there are a bunch of big giant gizzard shad in that place, let's not target the 6 and 7 pounders. Let's target the 4s and 5s. So this is me. I don't hear the audio, but so
yeah, I got it on right. I blocked it off here. Here you go.
Yep.
Here, we'll see what he says. This was your game plan going into day 2.
Yep. So this is just us before blast off.
I got the shallow, I got the deep, and in that discharge, it's like there's like heavy current. So I'll start with the shallow and kind of float it in top, like in the top section of the current, and then I'll slow down and just kind of slow roll the deep one, which is, you know, heavier, and just kind of tick rocks with it. On this side, I got a 6-inch when I'm feeling extra dangerous, and then I've got on some of the flats and swing banks and stuff, I've got brand new 5-inch unloaded on a quarter.
Basically a weedless rig, you know.
Okay.
But the game plan was clear here, right? Like we're going out, we're just a simple bait adjustment change. We're still going to do the swim bait thing, but just a little bit smaller profile.
Okay. Question on that. So like a lot of like the line through, is this take the place of like the old school Texas rigged belly weighted 5 and 6 inch bass tricks.
Yes.
That's basically what this is, just a more efficient, updated version of it.
When you say that, that brings me back to Clear Lake out in California. Remember when Swindle caught that 10-pounder on the seawall? Old bass tricks paddle tail, with a jig head. And back then we were having to just grab a jig head, and they didn't have the minnow stuff back then, but just a regular swim bait jig head, 4/0 hook, 3/0 hook, whatever it is. And you had to super glue every single one of those baits to the jig head. Essentially, the loaded swim bait has the weight portion in it. It's got a kind of a tube harness inside with a magnet in it, to where you just grab a 3/0, 4/0 flipping hook, your favorite J hook flipping hook. Although it comes with a hook, you can swap it out if you want. But it's just a line through system that, as you can see here, or you'll see here later in these clips, I was catching, 12, 15 fish per lure, whereas, back the old school, Gorilla Glue and Super Glue and all that, it's one and done.
So you knew that you weren't able to get this spot on day one. How does that work with the boat flip? This was a spot that was that you didn't know it was on live, has been on live. Multiple anglers were fishing it. Is this considered a community hole? And the guys on the first day knew, hey, I'm going to get one crack at this. Is this like, did guys show up and be like, well, I fish here? Like, how does that work on a spot like where you're about to pull up on?
That's an interesting question. So I'm 97th in the tournament, right? And I thought about this, and I had this conversation with Blake Balake, my 17-year-old Marshall, that morning. I said, hey, look, I'm gonna start on a community hole. It's 5 minutes from here. If there's anyone there that is in contention, I'm gonna let them have it. But to my surprise, being boat 15, I go up there and there's 0 boats there. So this next clip here, this is our first spot. Again, this is the spillway, highly pressured area. Again,
all right, spillway action. Nothing but a swimmer.
Hey, go ahead and pause it right here, Matt, or right there. Can you pause it to where we have a good shot look at the dam? Okay, so right about here. So right where the nitro sign is, to the right, you're going to see all of the outflow. That's where they actually pump the water out of. Everything to the left is the actual spillway itself, where it flows over the top of the dam. Again, that never changes. The only thing that changes is the water level. So when I see it, that the water level is rising up there on pool 7, I know that there's going to be 2 inches of water flowing over the top of that dam. Sets up for a perfect ambush point for a lot of these fish here.
Okay. So you're also starting fairly far out.
Further back, correct. There's a bunch of rocks and boulders and stuff, 10 to 12 feet off of the current. The smallmouth like to hang around there. So I'm going to ease up there and fish my way up there nice and clean and smooth.
Reel wise on that, are you still rocking the baits?
Oh, absolutely, man. This is the Salty Hundo. So it's a saltwater version of the popular Hundo. Super light, all one-piece aluminum construction. These have ceramic bearings in them. So when I want to make that bomber cast, I can. 7.5 foot, just medium heavy. So it's like a extra large spinnerbait rod is what this rod is, and 15-pound Seaguar Vizex. So that 15-pound, we had some mishaps, again, the muscles, I love boat flipping 4-pounders. Had a couple breakoffs in this tournament where you had to get the bait right on the structure because of that current.
And you're not scoping here. Like, is this scopable or is it too turbid to scope?
It's too turbulent. There's too much foam, there's too much grass, and there's way too many bubbles for you to see anything. So again,
this is just fan casting. You're waiting to feel the bite.
This is fan casting, and this is old school California Delta, reading the water, finding those current seams. For you trout guys, you salmon guys, you know what I'm talking about. That beautiful seam right there.
That's it, going kind of 45-degree angle, and then the fish, or you're casting your bait up into the foam. That
seam, right where that calm, slick water meets that turbulent, exactly right there, Matt. That's just, textbook.
That's where you're getting bit.
Correct.
Okay. And how long were you committed to this on the first day? Because at this point you haven't caught any.
Yes. So this is my start. This is my first 2 casts. I think I had a bite on the first cast, and I may have a bite on the second.
Right through here is discharge.
So bank anglers.
A lot of those, yeah. I had right when I pulled up, I had this dude on the right over here casting right at me. Like, hey, sorry, I know this is your spot and you live here. Like, I mean, you get smoked. I mean, first thing in the morning, that was the other thing about the Mississippi River is the morning bite was really, really good. After a really, really hot summer, the fish were taking advantage of that low light in the first hour, almost like a shad spawn thing, but the shad weren't spawning, of course. But that was a game plan. I mean, you go up to a community hole, the most obvious spot in the Black River, and just throw something that, a lot of guys throw the finesse swim baits in there, but just throw something different to try to get a different size bite.
All right. Is this next clip just so nothing off the hopper? So like it wasn't like Fast and Furious.
No, it kind of sucked actually. The outflow portion of it, which is where the current always is, a couple bites, I missed them. So I decided to move over to that overflow area where there's that nice white water right up against the bank. And I make a comment here.
Okay, let's do this now. So I think I've showed this before. I need to get this repainted, but this is the Roman made negotiator in a blue alumni. I've thrown it so much that I threw the I literally threw the foil off of mine.
Yep.
That's the exact bait that you have on right now.
Exactly.
You caught 4 fish the first day. You have 0 fish the second day.
Mm-hmm.
This is a high follow, low bite to land ratio bait. Yep. Why is that still in your hands when you are obviously struggling to catch keepers?
97th place in the tournament, and I'm throwing this guy. I'm spending a lot of time with it. I have so much confidence with it. It's the exact same bait. I was leading Lake Champlain last year, the exact same bait. And all it takes, again, is a 4 or 5 pounder. There's plenty of them in that area. You get that within 5 feet of that fish, it's going to tell you it's there in the way of a following, in the way of a bite, or they absolutely, just cream it and you get them in the boat. But spent a lot of time with that exact bait, throughout the years, a lot of confidence.
All right. So this is a key moment of the tournament. So let's just watch this clip all the way through with audio, and then we'll break it down.
Yep.
All right, I'm almost ready.
Okay, so huge moment of the tournament. Again, although I didn't win the tournament, but this is a huge, huge learning point of, the next time you're in this situation. Okay, you had a crappy day one, or let's say you have a very slow start to a single day tournament and things aren't working. I said, hey, look, all right, I'm almost ready. I was getting ready to leave. So I pick up the swim bait. I initially went out to throw all day long. And first cast, I get the first bite. And that right there kept me on that spot for another hour, hour and a half. Those little clues like that, just one bite shows you, hey, look, dude, it's like 8 inches of water where that white water is. It is super, super shallow. Why'd I
crank the handle 7 times? You said, I'm ready to leave.
Yep.
I'm ready to leave. You set it down. You pick it up. You crank the handle 7 times, and
boom, there's a 2.5 pounder, which is a good fish there. Mm-hmm. So that single bite, that single moment right there gave me the confidence to do this the rest of the day. And I'm on my way to, I mentioned it on live. And so the previous day, there were like 4 bags and the 18 pounds or better. And then there were 3 or 4 bags, 17 1/4 to 17 3/4. So there were about 8 people the day prior that caught, that 17.5 plus bag. So I told myself on day 2, I need to be in the top 8%, which means you'll have 17.5 or better. So I went out that day to be in that top 5% that day. And that was the start of it right there.
If you don't pick it up and make that cast, do you weigh in 18 plus on day 2?
No. Good question. if I were to decide, hey, let's just try the glide bait, not throw the loaded swim bait in there, I would have been gone and I would have scrambled just like I did the day before. But that single bite right there in that white water in 8 inches of water just gave me all the confidence in the world to put all the other rods away and let's just do this the rest of the day.
All right, so we'll go to the next clip, and I think our feed is back to gold now. So that God, it's weird. I feel like, you know how it is with the bilge. It's kind of like tournament fishing sometimes. Sometimes you have shows that go nowhere you expected them to go. Sometimes you expect to have a great show and you go out and you have a great show. Sometimes you have you have the makings of a great show and then you screw it up with bad questions and talking over the guests. And then sometimes you have technical issues with motors, trolling motors, electronics, big motors, boats, malfunctions, and breakdowns. It's the exact same thing here, but I think we did a good job of working through it. So, how far are we into it on this? It looks like it's still fairly early, but I can tell you've repositioned your boat.
Yep. So this is 2 hours into the stream, so we started streaming early.
Oh my gosh, dude!
So you're just chuck it. You just know, I think they're here, and I'm gonna flog it to death.
Yes. So, and again, going back to the overflow, the spillway section of this dam, everyone pulls up and fishes the outflow part. You know, there's a big giant tube there, and they let water out. Everyone fishes that. Not a lot of people fish the actual spillover. But as any river fisherman knows, any type of disturbance or current break, as you see this white water here, it doesn't look like much to your eye, but as you like peek over, and matter of fact, I was sight fishing them. I could actually see them swimming around just like salmon. So not a lot of people spend time in this white water here.
All right.
I just missed the bite on the glide.
Oh my!
Is that where you could actually like see it?
Oh my gosh!
You could see it.
Oh my gosh, dude! Oh. Oh.
I knew that was a giant one.
I had him hooked.
So, quick pause here, Matt. So I get this question a lot with the glide bait stuff. So why a half turn quickly, or why a real slow retrieve? The Roman Made Negotiator, the bait you just showed me in your office there, that bait loves a retrieve where you're just slowly turning the reel, slow, pause, and it's so balanced. It's made out of wood. It's hand carved out of wood. Man, that one's pretty. By the way, how much would you sell that for if you were to sell it?
This is never getting sold. Yeah, I got this. I believe I got this off of Grant Goldbeck, right? Probably 2011.
Yeah, that's
and I mean, you can tell like I have chucked it like a lot.
Yep. It's such a good bait,
but I'm afraid to throw it now because it's like actually got wood, and I need to get it. I'm actually having Frank Scalish repaint this one.
Oh, nice. Excellent. So where this bait is different than the rest, it's hand carved out of wood in Japan. I think they retail for like $250. If you find a good used one, I mean, they're still $250, $300. Anyways, a wooden bait compared to an injected plastic or injected, what do they call it? I mean, like the KGB, for example.
Yeah,
resin. Those baits love just a quick jerk, and you're never using your rod. It's always with the reel handle. Rod is always in position.
Like this is a resin bait. I
Correct.
believe.
That's a resin bait, and it's not wood. It's not hand tuned. It's hand tuned, but it's not balanced like the wood ones are. So the Negotiator loves just a nice slow pause, and it just goes nice and slow back and forth. And like I said, if you get it within 5-6 feet of a difference maker, a 4+ pounder, I mean, it's going to tell you it's there.
Okay.
So it just had a big bite on it.
Yeah, let's go back and then watch this all the way through because there's some cool stuff here.
I had him hooked. Oh. No.
cast number 3. Again, it's just nice and slow.
Oh my gosh, dude, that fish is strong. Coming to you, Blake. Oh, yeah.
Boom. So 3.5 pounder. So 3.5 pounder after I got smoked. Next cast, nothing. Next cast, one finally eats it. And that right there, again, after, catching a 2 pounder and then you catch a 3.5 or whatever it was, that thing, it helps you keep it locked in your hand.
Yeah. So why did you not follow that up with a loaded? Why did you not follow that up with a wacky? Why did you not follow that up with a minnow? Like anything, baby. Like you went with like a tough. So do you think that was the same fish that had hit it the first cast?
I don't think it was. I think there was a school there. And I want the biggest fish out of that school. We're trying to drive the green, man. Again, You're trying to win this tournament, and the only way to do that is by whereas other guys like Trey or JT or Patrick Walters, they would have picked up a wacky rig, thrown in there, and try to catch every single one of those missed bites.
We're about halfway through day 2. What I want to do is make a couple more observations about this clip. Then we'll take a break, and then we'll come back where it's my show. I could say what I want. It's about to hit the fan in a good way.
Yeah.
After this, like one of those calls where 10 years from now you'll be saying, yeah, this one time, I think we all have that, whether it's club tournament or fun fishing or something, where like you do something and you realize you're in the best spot on the fishery by yourself with the best bait during the best bite window, and there's nothing you can do wrong. And I think we're going to get into that. But one of the things I wanted to point out on this, talk me through the fighting of the fish on the Roman Maid, because I have not watched, fished with, been in the boat with a good swim bait guy who ever fights the fish once they bite. It is a point A to point B scenario, and this is a perfect example of that. Watch
the reel handle.
And walk us through, as this, I'm going to mute it. It's just that. Walk us through. So boom, fish on.
Reel handle.
And the fish is way out there too. Yeah. So when you hook it, it's not like right next to the boat.
Nope.
You never stop reeling.
Long cast, 7'8" rod. It's an iRod swim bait rod, 25-pound test. And, California Delta or Clear Lake or Lake Fork, whatever, it doesn't matter. You're catching 3-pounders or 13-pounders. You keep those hook points coming to the boat. When one eats a glide bait and you have her hooked up, those hook points need to go to your boat. I mean, that is just as simple as that. As soon as you're doing this deal with it, it's a big one, it's pulling, keep them coming. And that's why it's so important to be prepared for that bite. How do you catch big fish? You fish for big fish. You target big fish. You got to think, when I get this bite, that thing needs to come to the boat. How does that happen? By keeping those hook points coming towards the boat.
Phenomenal. All right. It is a game day Tuesday, a game film Tuesday with Chris Zaldain breaking down his top 50 finish on the Mississippi River. When we come back, we're going to get into the cast, catch, count, and mount portion of the show. But we're going to take a break, and when we come back, more with Chris Zaldain. Also, if you have any questions about what you've seen or anything, get that in the comment at the end of the show. I will hit Chris with some questions, and then if we select your question and you want it, I have a Sunline gift card here. It is good for 30% off from sunlineamerica.com for $50 up to $400. So if you guys think you'll use that, I can just shoot you that in a direct message after. But it's BTL on a Tuesday with Chris Zaldain. We'll be back right after this.
When I'm in a tournament, conditions are constantly changing and every second matters. With the Deep Dive app, I can instantly pull up all the current lake conditions all in one spot. So no more looking at weird government websites. In just one quick glance, I have water clarity, water level, wave forecast. It's all right there in the Deep Dive app. Download the Deep Dive app and get all the tools you need to put together an awesome tournament.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
As a professional angler, there's only one thing that connects you to your paycheck. Probably the most crucial part to tournament bass fishing. I use Zaldain because they have a line for every application. Shooter, FX2, All Might, super light line, big stuff, big sticks. Zaldain has you covered.
Sharp as can be. Super strong, super durable.
Really good penetration.
Thinner and stronger.
Catch fish after fish.
I want to make sure that I'm using the best stuff possible.
World's finest hook. World's finest hook.
Gamakatsu, world's finest hook.
Beatdown is efficient.
Rock solid.
100% American made.
This thing is super tough. I mean, this thing is not going anywhere.
I've ran the Beatdown double stack from Florida all the way up to New York. And the one thing that I know is when I get to my fishing destination, I never have to worry about issues with my graph mount.
Your options are endless with these mounts, but they're steady, they're solid. These are the most reliable mounts on the market, and you can't go wrong with the Beatdown.
When you're ready to hit the water, Denali Fishing has you covered. Regardless of your skill level, from beginner all the way up to tournament pro, Denali has rods, reels, and tungsten to get the job done. Check them out at denalifishing.com.
All right, welcome back, BTL, on a Tuesday, chatting with Elite Series Pro Chris Zaldain, and we're going to jump right into the second half of day two, breaking down game tape from the Mississippi River. And if you guys like this, I know we've done it in the past. Like I said, we've done it with some stuff with Bradley Hallman. I've had Johnny Schultz from Fish the Moment come on and critique. It was actually very terrifying. So we actually recorded some shows. You got to go back and watch it. He basically did a show on how the Open on Toledo Bend was going to be won using information from the Deep Dive app. And then after the tournament, he nailed it like 95%. He had part of the lake, he had the baits, he had the depth, and he had the cover just based on the conditions, the water clarity, and the predicted patterns for it. It was actually pretty intimidating, but
it's amazing the accuracy of all the data in that app. I got to be honest with you, Matt. When you told me about that app and showed it to me, 3 years ago or so,
yeah.
I was super skeptical because I'm a pro fisherman. I
turned down like 4 apps on BTL. I'd just been like, it doesn't feel right.
Yeah, totally. And then you where it really works well, and it did for me to hear this week, is at night, right? So, you're not in your boat at night. You're laying down, your head's on the pillow, you're looking at your phone. When you're done scrolling social media, you'll kind of look and kind of put together a game plan for the next day. And again, water level and water clarity are the two biggest things. But one thing that helps me, and you'll see it here, and it was more day 3, but a huge northwest wind came. And normally, like old school KVD, the wind is your friend. Let's go fish some wind-blown points. And a lot of times, I would say 30% of the time now, you're staying away from the wind, getting out of the wind, because you heard a lot of frog guys mentioned on the Mississippi River. You make a frog cast and you got this giant bow in your line, and you finally get a bite, and you just have zero hook penetration because all these things affect your line and your lure and stuff. So that wind direction is a big deal, and it is real time right now. And we're allowed to actually look at that during a tournament. I got it okayed with Lisa. There's no, secret outside information. This is all environmental data that helps you make decisions on the water right now when you're fishing against guys like Chris Johnston, Patrick Walters, etc.
My thing is, if you're going fishing, on a lake that has it, sign up for the thing. If you don't like it, if it's not helpful, if you're not looking at it, cancel it. You don't need it. Don't use it. But it's absolutely worth a shot. I actually on day 3, it's day 3, but it's day 2 of Leech, was a real early boat draw and had to make a decision on whether I was going to go around to get to the big lake or out, because I was kind of in your position. I had nothing to lose. I was going for it. And I was actually on the water in the tournament with the wind app pulled up on the deep dive app, going 14 miles an hour in 4 and 5 footers, looking at the deep dive app going, hey, if I jog to the right here, this is showing me that I'm going to get calmer water that's 3 miles behind where this island is out here. And then I can shoot out and then work my way that way. And I'm watching guys just eat them trying to get out there. And I jogged my way to the right. They turned into 2.5, 3 footers. I was able to get up to 25 miles an hour and then work my way back. I literally had it pulled up in the tournament, reading exactly on the moment on what the wind said, and it helped out a lot.
Dude, those guys, the engineers over there have it figured out. They use all this different data. Some of it's readily available, some of it's not, but then they translate it to a fishing app. It really is game changing.
Yep. All right. One more clip on this part of the dam. This is like a kind of a decision making. I think you're walking through.
It's always a trip. So you see like all the time, and I watched it growing up, like the Elite Series guys on Pickwick and any river system with an overflow or a spillway or a dam release. It's like all timing. I mean, you make one pass through there, nothing. You keep casting, all of a sudden 2 bites, 3 bites, 5 bites.
So again, going back to tournament decisions, like how do you time something that is, something you can't time? It's like untimable. Like, how do you do that? Well, the answer to that is you just keep casting. You put yourself in position to have the opportunity at that bite window. Sometimes it takes all day. Sometimes, so like that's the other question I get asked a lot. How do you know when to leave? And after, years and years of doing it, past experiences, you just kind of go by feel and you look for clues. Are there bait fish around? Are they busting? Are they boiling? Is there life in the water? And I decided to leave this dam area because I started seeing less and less shad relate to that overflow, relate to that white water where those fish were actually eating.
And then you make another move. So you're heavy today, and it ended up being not one on man-made structure, but your tournament revolved heavily around man-made structure.
The number
cement.
Yes. The number one tip I could give you when you're glide bait fishing or when you're swim bait fishing is fish the most obvious cover you can find. And whether it's a kind of a tournament release area or it's just that one single laydown that gets absolutely hammered by crankbaits and jigs and things, chances are the fish living on that most obvious piece of cover, that fish is smart. It's been around the block. Maybe it's been caught before on a jig or a crankbait, but they don't see a lot of, fake rubber fish. And still to this day, it's like guys are just a little bit apprehensive to throw the big swim bait stuff because you get less bites, but you could also catch an 18+ pound bag when 14 pounds is good. That's how you win by a lot. That's how you do really, really well. So super obvious pieces of cover that offer a lot of vertical ambush points.
One more cast, 2 more casts, and we gone.
Okay, so
you've clearly made a move. Like, how far have we moved here, and why did we not see any of this on the first day?
Yes. Okay, so I decided to go fish the spillway. Of course, no one was there. No one was fishing it, to my surprise. There is another spillway, about a 12-minute run from that spillway, plus an idle zone. I figured, hey, look, we figured something out. The fish aren't biting on the dam where the actual discharge is. They're actually biting on that overflow, the spillway, because again, the app showed me, hey, look, there's water spilling over the spillway after the rain. So let's go fish the other one that we did not fish since practice, but fish live there obviously. And as I'm going to that spot, I'm idling by and I'm like, oh, wow, there's nobody on the bridge. This is the bridge where it always goes down every single tournament we go there. So what I'm thinking is it was 10:30. I think a lot of guys started there but had dissipated. They had left.
So I also noticed this. So are these guys in the tournament on the other side of the bridge, like fishing some sort
That's
of
Taku. Yeah, the guy on the right there, that's Taku. The guy on the left, I believe, started on the bridge. I think that was
So I've always wondered this. Like, are you in this area? You're 94th place. You got you've got a good limit in the boat at this point. We're about to show some fish catches on here, but are you going, crap, that dude didn't catch him yesterday either. Crap,
Yes.
that dude didn't catch him yesterday either. Like, are guys aware of who's around them and how well they're doing in the tournament?
They know it all. They absolutely know it all. And, I was waiting for someone to, come around the corner on that bridge and be like, hey, dude, you're in 97th place. Let me have this. I was waiting for that. I was expecting that, but there was no one around. Again, I think a lot of these guys started there. And by 10:30 is when I got to this bridge. This is where it goes down. No one was there. So I was like, and I also knew, hey, look, no one's throwing a swim bait, because every time I'd idle that bridge, their heads were down and they were doinking.
Is that Koya or Taku?
That's Taku fishing grass on the
I
right,
gotcha.
but
Okay.
Koya would always start on this double piling right here. But I think that's Robert G. But there were no competitors within a cast length.
And the current is going towards you're casting
towards, yes.
with you're reeling with the current.
Yes.
Always key on that in this scenario.
Always key. And I thought that was interesting that Koya would always set up above current and cast down. But here's another good point. If you look at kind of the water riffles here, the wind is actually at my back. So you have the wind going one way, the current going the other. I always want my swim bait going with the current, no matter what the wind is doing. So it's set up for a very challenging boat position where the wind is trying to push me into the bridge, but the current's pushing me back, type of thing. And so I've only been here 2 minutes.
That was it on that.
Yeah,
correct.
I get smashed on that bridge piling right there. I may have cut it short, but I get hammered on that bridge piling. I missed the fish. That right there told me, okay, guys fished this all morning. No one's throwing a swim bait. Let's spend some time here. Nobody's around. Notice how I let it sink a little bit. We're fishing 8 to 9 feet of water with rock piles all around.
Oh, you could see that fish actually slackline you there.
Smoke it.
Oh, that's a big one.
Yeah.
Stay on there. Stay on there.
Oh, you lost him. Oh. Dude, watch this bite right here. That is such a sick bite.
Oh, hey, listen, when they get it too, like, it is never, ever a worm bite. Oh, does it have it? Oh, yeah, there he is. Set the hook.
And you don't hesitate at all. You just crack.
Never. No. They, especially with the 5-inch version, if I was throwing a 6 or 7, maybe a slight delay, but they smoke it so hard they hook themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what this clip isn't showing is the cast before this. And trust me, Trey let me hear it afterwards. The cast before this, I hung my bait up just like on day one. I kind of hung it up, and the big thing with this spot here is if that swim bait was not touching the rusty pilings and muscle-driven pilings, you weren't getting the bite. So you had to have that bait right on that gnarly structure. Matter of fact, by the end of the tournament, all my swim baits had just like a layer of just powdery rust from all the casts I was making right on that piling.
And that dulls your hook.
It dulls your hook. You're constantly checking your hook. You're constantly checking your line. But this one bit right on the piling and just gave me just a little nick in the line. And I like the boat flip fish. This thing was over 4 pounds.
That's
medium heavy.
That's a parabolic bend, is it not?
It is. It's medium heavy.
That is the perfect example of a parabolic bend in a rod. If you guys ever want to know the difference between, like an ultra fast action, fast action, like the type of bend in the rod. Look at where that bend starts and how natural and smooth that bend is the whole length of the rod.
Yeah, you don't want this. You don't want that at all where it's a fast tip. You want, that nice
candy cane. You don't want a candy cane.
Yeah, correct. That's a old Bobby Barrett term.
And why is that? Just gives you more rubber band, more elasticity, more forgiveness.
Yeah, listen, the loaded swim bait has got this 5-inch version's got a super sharp 3/0 exposed hook. So think about it. I mean, it doesn't have a weed guard on it. It's not Texas rig. If that hook point gets any part of that fish's mouth, that parabolic rod just loads and you're good to go.
So let me ask you this. And what I'm noticing here is you started low, but it seems when the fish came off, like you changed the angle and high sticked it. Watch this, right? You go from right here and then it seems like you kind of went up instead of more to the side. Do you think that, or was it just not hooked good?
Stay on there.
He was hooked good, and I should have played it out. But again, this moment taught me you have to get on the pilings and you have to be careful when you get that bite where that fish is going. And that one, it pinned it up against that nasty bridge piling, and that's where I got the nick in my line.
Oh, so it broke you off.
It broke off. Yeah, completely broke off. Yeah, you can actually hear it pop. Yeah, the swim bait goes.
The swim bait went flying and then
flying in the air, landed in the water, and you could see me working my rod like a.
Oh, would that have given you a 20-pound bag?
Oh, absolutely, and that was one of like 3 or 4 that I lost. Yeah, I was gonna pull up. I don't want to bore you guys with losses. Good. But I legit had over 20 pounds of bites on that bridge within a 2-hour window, and nobody was around. It was the craziest thing.
Here's just another one, and this one this is kind of what cemented it for you. The biggest comeback of the year on the Elite Series.
Big one. I need you.
Whoa.
I need you.
Good thing Ike and Ellie wasn't around.
Yeah. Like us cheering it.
Please stay on there. Please. We just made the freaking cut. 8 pounds, 8 ounces yesterday. We just made a freaking cut.
So
did you scoop that because of what had just happened on the previous one?
Absolutely. As you can see here, Trait's got a little catch ticker at the bottom. So we're at 17.2. I knew I needed a big bite. I get a big bite and I land this one. This one was 4 1/4, 4.5. But yeah, I mean, it's rare for me to be on a good swim bait bite like this, and I'm not boat flipping them. But I mean, these are just, if you've never been to the upper Mississippi River, again, it freezes over every year. These fish don't grow.
Look, it's gone.
I mean, gonzoed it.
Look, it's gone.
I said it on stage that last day. This was by far like the top 3, and I didn't want to bore you guys with all the clips, but I had so many bites there, and they were all. It seemed like every single one of them was 3 1/4 to 4.5 pounds, and I didn't land all of them, but this is by far like top 3 best swim bait bites I've ever been on. The Mississippi River of all things in Wisconsin. Behind Clear Lake, Lake Fork, Mississippi River, hands down. And that for that to happen in a tournament, it just shows you, like, doesn't matter how bad your day one was, doesn't matter how bad your first 6 hours were in an 8-hour single day tournament. Like, you just have to stick with it and grab those little clues that they give you, whether it's just the 8 inches of water on an outflow of overspilling water, or having a swim bait right on a highly pressured bridge. Grab those little clues despite what happened the previous days and fish in the moment right now and capitalize what is going on right now. And that's how some of the greatest fishermen to ever do it. They recognize those little things and put themselves and keep themselves in position to have an awesome day. And that right there was the second biggest bag of the day. Lee Livesey had a 21-pound bag that day frogging. But that's how you make a 50 position jump, 50 position comeback. And that fish right there was worth, $5,000.
Can you, on the swim bait, so there's a lot of different line throughs, a lot of different hard baits, swim baits, a lot. But I'm looking at this, and this is something that this is like what I like breaking down. So like obviously on a crankbait, I can picture Kevin going, when that fish has the front treble hook in its mouth, it's eating it, right, and it's the right color, and you've got the right cadence, and he could be catching them every cast, but if they're barely nicked on the back hook, the dude's changing colors.
Yep.
I'm looking at this, and I'm seeing this line through that obviously like breaks away from here.
Yeah,
that is absolutely howitzered in the roof of his mouth.
Yes,
dead freaking center.
Dead
Is it
nuts
this? Is it the same on those line through swim baits that you can tell if it's the right color, the right cadence, the right weight, and the right size based on where the hook is positioned in that fish's mouth?
Absolutely. That's exactly. It's more so like I'm not a big color guy, whether it's crankbaits or swim baits. I like kind of an opaque white, which is this one here. This is a violet albino, so it's opaque. You can't really see through it, and I use that because of the color of the water, which is tannic, and also the clouds in the sky. And then I just use like a translucent shad color, it's a blackback shad color where you can kind of see through it a little better. It's one of those two colors, but instead of like the color thing, it's more profile size. So this is a 5-inch for these 4-pounders, which was perfect, but it's more of an angle thing. If I were to make that same cast underneath that bridge piling, but I was positioned up current, I would not have got that bite. I absolutely believe that. So the more natural this fake fish is looking, the better your chances are of fooling that fish and having it commit fully, completely gone. And that was one of the 3-4 pounders I caught off that bridge where that hook was either right there, right in the roof of the mouth back, or all the way in its crushers. So yeah, the right color, yes, but more importantly, the angles of where you're pulling that swim bait tells you whether it's gone or skin hooked. Then you got to make those adjustments from there. But by far, that was the best bait to be throwing at that given point in time. And like I said, that single day was, the only other guy that beat me that day was Lee with the frog.
And then I would assume same game plan on day 3, and it just didn't pan out, but you literally had nothing to lose.
Yeah, so conditions changed like crazy. That night, I went on the app and I looked at the projected wind, and I was thinking, oh man, this current runs. The river runs north to south. We're going to have a north-northwest wind, strong, 20 to 25 miles per hour. All right, cool. These bridge pilings, they're going to have more current on them. They're going to be set up a lot better than they were today. But unfortunately, day 3, and I have no clips from it because we weighed 2 fish for 5.5 pounds. Yep. But I went for it. Again, you just go for it. You try to put yourself in position to catch a 20-plus pound bag. I only needed 18 pounds to make the top 10 cut. And obviously after doing it on day 2, like it was possible. But I looked at the deep dive app. It showed me there was a lot of wind. There was a lot of current. This is going to be a lights out day, but the high pressure set in that day, and it got really, really cold, really, really windy, and the bait just wasn't there. I mean, there's the 5-inch shad that those fish were eating the day before. They just weren't there. And you've been in this position too. Everyone listening has been in this position where you're in a tournament or you're just out fun fishing. Oh, you should have been here yesterday. They were biting yesterday. So what has changed? Looking at some of the clues on the app, looking at the environment, looking at the water clarity, all that stuff. Things have changed. But again, after 14 years of doing it, I was being a little bit stubborn, hard-headed, and I knew in the back of my mind, this is how you catch a big bag. We're just going to send it, and we sent it all day for 2 fish, and that's how it goes.
It is what it is.
Yep, no regrets.
You good to knock out a couple questions about some stuff?
Yeah,
if you have a question over what you're seeing, bait, technique, anything wise, go ahead and get those in. Like I said, if you're in the market for some line, I would recommend, if it's getting to be jerkbait season, guys, that Sunline Crank FC in the 10-pound test is badass. Like, it's actually different line. I love that stuff. This gives you a chance 30% off to try it. If you don't want it, then I can just like flash it up on the screen and whoever gets it first gets it. But we'll start out with some questions. Michael Cole, what's the biggest bass that you flipped on that setup? I think he was talking about with the negotiator.
Yeah. Mike, that's a good question. I've caught here in Texas now up in my line, with an 8-foot swim bait rod and up in my line to a 25 or sometimes even 30-pound test. I've boat flipped 9s. I've never boat flipped 10 on the negotiator. But back home in California, I mean, with the swim bait stuff, I've boat flipped a 12-pounder before.
Jeez.
Yeah. Again, so important just to keep those hooks coming, and whether that's just keep them coming at the side of the boat and just keep pressure on them, or what's the simplest
that
way?
was a Rick Clunn deal on the bilge, was it not? One of the very first ones. Yep. I literally like, this is no joke. I literally instantly ended a fish landing slump in the Bassmaster Opens. I know everyone says this, but I had one of those years where I was really close to making the Elite Series through the Opens, and I lost every single key fish that bit. And I'm just looking back going, like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And I watched that, and what I found I was doing was I was hooking big fish, and I had lost a couple, and I was subconsciously babying them.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew, and I've said this a million times on the show, I knew I was so mentally screwed when I hooked a 4-pounder and I went, oh my God, I wish I hadn't hooked a big one. Like, I wish, I viscerally went, crap, I wish it was when I could just reel in and boat flip. Like, I do not want to fight a big fish. And I like had a moment where I was like, oh, I'm like, need help.
Yes. Yeah.
Have you ever been there?
Absolutely. When you hook a big one and you have no confidence to land it, it just makes it even worse, And then, the next day you go fun fishing, you just can't do wrong. But when you're in a tournament, you're on the clock, the pressure is on. And having that mental block of, I'm not going to land this fish, I lost the 5 before that.
As soon as you hook it, you're screwed.
Yep. You can't. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing. But like, look at KVD. We all watched KVD growing up, right? He loses one. He shows that much emotion.
Yeah.
And then he's on. He's
but
back
anyway,
on the job.
Rick was on, and he was talking about something, and there was some sort of point of it where he talked about, regardless of what you're throwing, so your hook is like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
You will not lose fish as long as you keep the hook point heading towards the boat.
Yep.
And that aha moment jumped me up from, like, I was using a lot of 7-8 pound test on the drop shot at the time when that came out, and the Nico stuff. I instantly just went up to 10 and 12. I started fun fishing to where when I would hook a big fish on a spinning rod, I would see how hard I could put, like how much smoke I could put. And I like changed my whole freaking game plan.
Yep. Here's another point for you scoping guys or have been watching the sport closely the last couple of years, Koya Fujita. And just by me saying that name, I think a lot of you guys know who have been watching what I'm about to say. But if you look at the way he fights fish on a minnow or on a dice, he's got like a little 6'6" rod or 6'4" rod. I know because Trey bought one. It's like a little 6'5" rod that's heavy, but he boat flips 4-pound smallmouth and gives them 0%
zero respect.
Zero respect is right.
Yeah.
Or any of the anglers around him, man. He just anyways, my point being is, where everyone else like me shaking a minnow, oh, that's a big one. Let's give him lines, that whole thing, loosen up the drag. This guy jacks him, boat flips him in the boat, keeps that hook pointing coming to the boat. Although it's a spinning rod, he makes it work.
Chuck Fish, Chris, why not just get a limit on more traditional baits first, then go get the kickers and knock it out with the big baits?
Yeah, I get that question a lot, Chuck. In this particular tournament, I had to go for it. The smart thing to do would be to lay up. I mean, that exactly what you just said would be considered laying up. And a lot like my golf game, I like to try to drive the green every single time. I need to work on that, Chuck. I need to work on it. So why not catch a limit first, then go for the big ones? Well, I'm afraid I'm going to lose that opportunity while I'm shaking a worm. I'm going to lose that opportunity at a shot at a really, really, really big fish. So the more time, and hey, look, we've all been there in tournaments where that clock just keeps eating up and burning and just goes by so fast. I just don't want to lose an opportunity at a big one, because if you've ever done the big swim bait thing or even punching or frogging, you don't get a lot of bites. But when that single moment happens, it is magical. And in my opinion, 8 hours of putting yourself in position to get that magical moment compared to 4 hours of worming and then 4 hours of big fish hunting. I'd much rather have a full day. So a little bit of stubbornness, Chuck, definitely. But man, yeah, I just need all the time, as many casts as possible to try to catch a big one.
25-pound fluoro?
25 fluoro. Yep. 25 fluoro on the big glide stuff. And then on the 5-inch swimmer, just 15. Here's a good point too. During that day, when it was going down, it was like every cast just about. And then I broke one off. I actually sat down and re-spooled. I mean, it took me, I don't know, a minute and a half to take all the 15-pound off. And I grabbed my 17, had it all keyed up. I was about to tie the overhand knot to spool it up, but I was like, the difference between 17 and 15 to the feel and to the eye doesn't look like much. But underneath the water, when you're in current, that 15-pound test restricts the line less than 17. 17, it's just a little bit thicker. And with 15, the swim bait swims more free. So absolutely, the lighter the line. And that's a big misconception in bass fishing, whether it's finesse tactics or swim bait fishing. The lighter the line, the more bites you get. And it's not because the fish see the line. It's because that thinner diameter definitely lets that bait.
Big Pollinic deal.
It just lets that bait fish more freely. Think about it. Next time you go out there with like a Carolina rig or something like that, try 25-pound tests and then try like 12-pound tests, and that bait just look at it at the launch ramp, just like swing it. It's just everything's stiffer with heavier line, and just a 2-pound test difference is all the difference in the world when it comes to trying to fool a 4+ pounder.
Gear ratio on the glide
7-to-1. Yeah, that's a Bates. That's a Bates salty hundo and a Bates salty OG. So 7-to-1. And 7-to-1 is perfect, whether you're in and around current like I was, or if everything is flat calm.
I was going to bring this up. That is ballsy, throwing an OG, blue alumni negotiator around pike and bowfin.
Yeah.
Like, I would have
Alicon must have been watching the feed, and I appreciate everyone watching now that also watched the live feed. I really appreciate you guys. Trade's been doing a phenomenal job with the whole presentation.
Well, she loves it too. She enjoys every second of it. Stress-free. Like she just
has figured it out. We've had so many people in the industry.
Just starts it, does her Pilates, drinks her coffee, no stress whatsoever.
They want to know the juice on how the rig is set up, and she will take it to her grave. There's only one person in the industry that has asked that we're actually going to help out, because Mark Zone has helped us out over the years so much that we want to get him live streaming as well. And other guys do it too. I mean, Matt Robertson, Logan Parks, but to this effect, with the different screens and live scope and all that, we could all learn together and have fun together. So like I said, I really appreciate me just being a total idiot on live and just showing my emotion. I look back at it, it's kind of cringy. Like, dude, how do you get so hyped over a 3-pounder? Well, in the moment, I mean, that's how I feel, and I can't hide that. But I forget what the initial question.
How'd you keep the pike and bowfin from stealing your one of a kinds?
You just pray, hope and pray that that one tooth doesn't grab.
How many pikes smoked this thing over the 3 days?
Yeah, I caught 4 pike on it, and I caught one boat.
Never lost one?
But never lost one. Yeah. But with the frog thing, I lost, 3 or 4 frogs during the tournament. And yeah,
this is a weird bait, Chris.
Yes.
Because like it was big. It was like the that and the Gangcraft Jointed Claw 178 SS, and then the River to Sea S waiver.
And you don't see them at all anymore.
For the longest time, those were the main 3, and then the Depths 175 slide swimmer kind of came in after that. But this is the one that I saw Pollinic throw first, at 2010, 2011. You were throwing it. A couple of the other guys were throwing it.
Kevin Ledoux, yep.
Kevin Ledoux he's got kicked off the Elite Series because he refused to not throw it. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, it cost him his career because he was so obsessed with it.
I'm telling you.
And I think he'll admit that. He's still obsessed with it. That's hilarious. It doesn't matter what I do now. I've talked to him all the time, and if I catch him, his only question will be like, can I glide him?
Yep.
And but my question is, then this thing went away for 12 years.
Yeah. Yep.
And now you're seeing it kind of come back. Is that a Roman made thing where they're trying to get back into it?
It's like the Senko, everyone was throwing a Senko, and a lot of guys still throw the Senko, but now you're starting to see more,
So now everyone's
XYZ.
throwing that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they're eating that now
And
more because it's a totally different profile.
There are so many garage companies. Like, what's that one? What is that one right there that you have in your right hand?
That's a I think that's a oh god, I can't.
You don't even know.
It says J. No, it's a popular one. It says JK on the bottom.
See, I don't even know. But
it's a popular one. I can't.
My point is, there are so many different garage swim bait companies with the cool stickers and stuff like that. It's really hard to keep up. Yeah, it's really, really hard to keep up. But I will tell you this: when you're shopping for a glide bait, unfortunately, you have to buy it first to test it. But say you hop in my boat or someone else's boat that has glide baits. The only way to tell that it is a well-balanced, great glide bait is when you cast it out there and you burn it back to make that next cast. If this thing is pulling back on you, that means that it is coming back like that, just moving real quick. As you reel it in fast, it's just moving. The belly stays down, the back stays up, and it's doing this. When you reel in and you burn a glide bait fast back to the boat and it's doing this and it's coming back easy and not pulling back on you, that is not a balanced glide bait. So that's an easy way to tell whether that glide bait's going to work or not. Is when you burn it back and it cuts super hard, just like this, all the way back to the boat. Doesn't roll, doesn't do that, just stays perfect. So that means when you work it slow, like you're supposed to, it just stays belly down the whole time, super natural. Again, Chuck, we're looking for that 5 or 6 pound bite that has been around. It knows what is real and what is fake. And in order to fool those fish, it's got to look as natural as possible.
Are you a guy who puts the little rubber in between the joint to keep it from clicking or not?
So the OG negotiators I have from 10, 12, 15 years or however long ago don't have the rubber. See that this rubber right here is a cushion for the rib, the front section. There's that point, there's that edge, that edge right there. Now, if that edge gets beat up and it gets flattened out, that means your joint now becomes bigger. It becomes larger and it'll cut more and it's inconsistent. So that rubber padding on the backside there just makes sure that edge on the ribs stay an edge. Because again, if it flattens out, you're going to have more joint to it and it just doesn't glide as well. Then it becomes a cutter at that point. So you start cutting it. Yep. So yeah, I mean, if it's got it on there, cool. If not, I don't worry about it.
I don't want to turn this into like a glide bait episode. So just hit Blake with, he's struggling with it. Ideal conditions. Like you were to have a 10 out of 10 conditions to pick up the glide, like dream scenario. What are those conditions?
Okay.
You good? We can take another break if you need it.
No. She was just reminding me that a company like Roman Made, obviously they hand build these baits. Just one dude that carves them and paints them. So like you start to see all these different collaborations within the swim bait industry. I know you said you don't want a glide bait show, but yeah, we
do whatever. I mean,
we are one of the fortunate ones to get in bed. So we, as in Bass Mafia, are doing a collab with Roman Made, where see how that Roman Made negotiator doesn't have like a gizzard shad profile. It has a profile of a lot of Japanese fish, the IU, the etc. So it's more of that kind of.
Did you know that it takes an IU to catch an IU, Chris?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's a whole nother thing that you guys need to Google or YouTube. That's a really cool technique, by the way. But yeah, so we're releasing a true gizzard shad profile negotiator. That'll work here in the States. It'll work everywhere. But having that profile and having that relationship is really, really cool. But ideal conditions to throw this style of bait is going to be sun and wind. So partly sunny, a couple of clouds in the sky are fine. Low pressure is the old spinnerbait adage. Oh, it's got to be cloudy, low sky, blah, blah, blah. Really what you want is either current or wind breakup. Like in this scenario, we had current, but ideal conditions is going to be March, April, partly cloudy, partly sunny, and just a little bit of chop. I'm talking that 7 to 8 mile an hour chop. fishing the most obvious cover you can find, Blake. And always try to fish that perpendicular wind. What I mean by that is you have a face of a point, and this could be an ultra sharp point or a rounded off point like this. The face of it, the absolute face where it drops off, you have a perpendicular wind blowing on it. Check out the Deep Dive app. It'll point out every single one of those spots I'm talking about. But when that wind is not like this, not 45 rolling around, but when it's perpendicular, just blasting right on the face of that point, throw that glide bait right up there. And that is just perfect. March, April, try to target main lake points. I don't care if it's full spawn, April, May, depending on where you're at, where the fish are supposed to be in the very backs of the creeks on flats. Big fish love main lake setups, main lake points, main lake man-made structure where there's that nice vertical drop. Try to target that 4 to 6 foot of water range, perpendicular current, and always try to parallel that point. So always try to make, this cast, that cast, and then this cast right here. Perpendicular wind, nice natural presentation. And Blake, let me tell you, if you're struggling with the confidence in it, all it takes is one bite, just like that one bite on the spillway where boom, confidence the rest of the day. Let's do it all day long.
Go to a pond, go somewhere where you're going to get bit on it. Like, don't throw it on like your Tuesday nighter that takes 4 pounds on 3 fish to win. Like, go someplace easy. Like if you have a buddy that's got a private pond or a john boat or even from the bank or somewhere where you're going to get bit on it. To me, that was big on it.
That's a big deal. That is a huge deal. And then like for you northern guys, like up there in Champlain, throwing it in grass holes is a really good way to catch them. And caught a couple 5s doing that last year in a tournament, Elite Series tournament up there doing that. But yeah, and then the top hook swim bait, you'll get more bites on it compared to the glide bait, and you catch some big ones like we saw. But that one's real simple. So a 5 or a 6 inch, whether it's like the OG Mag Draft or the ones I throw, which are top hook, I feel like you can fish it around cover better. The Loaded Dangerous is a replacement for a spinnerbait. Wherever you would throw a spinnerbait, throw the Loaded in there. Great. And you're going to catch it literally in the exact same way. You reel it just fast enough to where those blades are turning. You reel the swim bait just fast enough to where that head wiggle and tail wiggle work together. And then also you always want to work it just out of sight. Remember old Jimmy Houston, throw it up there. Oh, with wait till we can't see it. And then that's when you start your retrieve. And you're never popping a spinnerbait. You're never jerking a swim bait most of the time. And the swim bait 100% of the time. You're not popping it, jerking it, pausing it. It's a slow, steady retrieve. That thing, that 5-pounder is, oh man, that 6-inch swim bait just looks so perfect. And the only way to achieve that is just by a nice, slow retrieve like a spinnerbait.
Blake, I like that question. Shoot me an email, matt@basszone.com if you're interested. If you don't, I'm burning a card with this because I assume once I send you that code, I chop this up and throw it away. But 30% off Sunline. If you're looking to try some Sunline, I'll send you the code for this, Matt, at basszone.com. Can I ask you a personal question?
Bring it.
Why? Okay, I feel like you knew how the Classic was going to be won on Ray Bob this past year. Yep. And I feel like you intentionally did not do the way you thought it would be won while telling people how it would be won, but the way you wanted to fish it. And then it was won in the areas on the bait on the way you thought it would be won. I'm just curious, like, was that a mistake, or is that why you've gotten to where you are today because you stick to your guns?
It's both. It's real simple, actually. And it happened to Christy at 10 Killer this year. It's so easy. Even when you identify, like, don't fall in this trap, you still fall in the trap, but you're just fishing history on your home lake. It happened to, again, Christy at 10 Killer. It happened to me at Ray Bob, the Classic. You're just fishing history. You have so many good memories of boat flipping 8s and 9s almost every cast on these beautiful main lake rock points at Ray Bob. And I just got caught up in that. On paper, you look at the Deep Dive app, the wind's going to be perfect. The water clarity, the water level is perfect for this Classic to be won on a swim bait. And I've got all this extensive knowledge over the years, catching 30+ pound bags. That's how I wanted to win the tournament. That's how history has told me you're going to win the tournament. But again, in the back of my mind, we had this conversation, scoping a worm in isolated trees. I mean, it can be a player. And
I brought that up because I thought it was interesting. Like, you stuck with what you wanted to do, and obviously it burned you in the Classic. But then, like, in this tournament on the Mississippi, you stuck with what you wanted to do too, and you had the second biggest bag on day 2 and came back and won. So that, I think, is one of the things that makes fishing so unique. It's such a double-edged sword. There isn't a right way and a wrong way to do things, which I think is what makes it so fascinating for so many people for so many decades.
It's like art, man. It's like art. I'm not an art guy, but like you're expressing yourself, you're expressing who you are through the way you fish. That's what makes it cool. That's how we all fell in love with Aaron. That's how we all fell in love with XYZ angler. You know, we all can't be you know, the guy who adapts and changes and isn't a specialist like a lot of these younger guys now. But you know, to me personally, after 14 years of doing this, when you set out to do something a certain way because of the conditions, like I'm gonna catch them on the swim bait, and then when that happens, like there's nothing more satisfying. And I'm sure the younger guys nowadays, the guys who could do it all, you know, find it satisfying to just figure them out that day, no matter if it's shaking a dice or a worm or whatever it is. That's what's cool about fishing. It's just like art, but just like art, you get a lot of criticism, lots and lots of criticism. Why didn't you do this? You should have done that. This guy does this better than you, you know, that type of thing. And, but that's what makes this sport so awesome. And, you know, we just, you know, hopefully today here on this show, we taught you a little something, what to do, what not to do. But yeah, it's all fun. It's all fun.
Anything else you want to get in here before I let you go? I greatly appreciate it. I know that you just got back from home. It took you multiple people. Charles sat down to pull those clips together, to talk through. If you guys like this, leave a comment, what you want to see more of, what you want to see less of. If you're willing to do it, I think it would be a great segment. I don't know what your plans are for 2026, but should you find yourself fishing at the top level of professional bass fishing, I'd love to do 4 or 5 of these breakdowns a year when we get back. And I learn a lot from them. I enjoy the hell out of it.
Oh no, that's excellent. And like you said, you criticize yourself by watching old clips. I'm going to start to do the same thing now. Trait has really unlocked something special with this live stream. It would be really cool if all the anglers did it. But we're not ready to give up like the secrets on how quite yet. But Matt, I'm inviting you this fall. Me and you in the boat, we will live stream. We could either do a 1v1, which is kind of played out, you know, but we could do an educational seminar. The last time I hopped in the boat with you, you taught me more about live scope than anyone I know doing the crappie thing. But hop in my boat this fall. We'll stream. We'll have everyone logged in. We will answer questions. It'll be like an on the water seminar where you could talk about what you love to do and how to do it. And I could do the same with the swim bait stuff or whatever it is. But yeah, let's definitely hook up. We'll do a live stream. We'll get, and that's what I want. I want the fans to interact, ask those questions live while it's going down. And, you know, we all love those tank seminars, right? We sit there and we watch them with the kids or whatever at the expos. How about a live on the water seminar where we're interacting with every one of you guys?
Phenomenal. Enjoy a little bit of an off time. I know you've got a lot of sponsor obligations coming up. Is the bilge coming back anytime soon?
It is. Yes,
it is.
Sure
okay.
is. Absolutely is. Like I said, last time we talked, we got rid of the traveling RV, 47-foot RV. And I'm so glad because just about every screw on that thing was just about coming out. But that's where our studio was. It was so much easier to call Kevin Van Dam and be like, hey, look, we're just down the street, or, you know, Matt Heron camping right there, hop in the RV. Let's do a podcast. It's harder to get a hold of the guys, but now we've got a studio much like yours built out in the shop. So we will be flying guys in the off season.
Oh, big league.
And it takes a lot, but I think the fans appreciate it. And there's nothing like a good old one-on-one in-person chat.
Totally agreed. All right, have a good one, Chris.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it. That was awesome. Learned a lot. That was a lot of fun, and thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
All right, that is the one and only Chris Zaldain. All right, I'm going to get to Dead Rabbit's question. He said, my question is, when are we going to be able to watch all of the anglers on YouTube? And I've thought a lot about this. So this is something that leagues, that organizations have tried. Bassmaster tried it 10 years ago for a portion of the season when the very first streaming capable GoPros came out. And what you ended up with was exceptionally choppy video. Half of them didn't work. And then I'd say half of the guys spent a good portion of their day in the corner of the boat that the GoPro couldn't capture, either taking a leak, dipping, or smoking a cigarette so their wife wouldn't find out that they do it. There was no audio to it. It ended up being known as like butt cam. Now, with what we've seen, like he mentioned, Logan Parks is streaming. A couple other guys are doing it. We're seeing more live cameras on it. Obviously, Chris is and Trait. I mean, they're a team. Like Trait set a lot of this stuff up along with Charles, and it's tons and tons of hours of work on it. Right now, that's kind of like they kind of have a bait. They have like the Alabama rig right now. They have the chatterbait right now. If you listened to yesterday's show with Dave Rush, that makes a lot more sense. But that's kind of their thing that they spent the time, the effort on. That technology was out there. When you combine the Starlink with the 5 or 6 other elements and all the programs that they run through, I don't think they should have to have an obligation to share how that was done. And I may be partially biased with that because, when this whole streaming and internet thing started, and not just in the fishing world, but it will pertain it to the fishing world, is I was with Mark Jeffries and I watched the thousands and thousands of hours that he spent in the studio till 4 a.m. trying to get a live, watchable, digestible product to the listeners. And there was not StreamYard. There was not plug and play live platforms that you could within 10 minutes have something set up and broadcast on YouTube. Like, listen, we weren't even on YouTube on Bass Talk Live until 2018. Long story there, but like we were streaming through the show. He was working with this company in Europe to get the streaming down to where it would be live, to where you could actually have viewer feedback for it. All sorts of those. So I'm very like kind of protective of that. That being said, I think that the individual independent live cameras for the angler, should they choose to do it, is an excellent complement to Bass Live. Me personally, with what was going on this week, I don't think that I tuned out of Bass Live to tune into Chris, because a lot of us have multiple platforms that we can watch this on. I had Chris on, I was cleaning the house on day one of this and I had the show. So I had Chris's feed on in one bedroom and the Bassmaster feed on in the living room. Now this is my job. I want to follow it. But what I found was after Bassmaster was off air, I found myself watching Chris's for the last 45 minutes to see if he could catch a limit or not. I think it's a really symbiotic relationship there, to where you get the overall picture through Bassmaster and you let the anglers have their own personalities, promote their own brands, their own sponsorships. This is where you can earn money as an angler. You saw those clips. I mean, I'm a Bass Cat Omnia Spro show, and I had Chris Zaldain's feed on, and he had Bass Pro Shops and Nitro and Bass Mafia and all that stuff on his. But I think that is a perfect opportunity for Bass to have their product, but to allow those anglers to stream, to have their revenue stream. The more entertaining they are, the more energy, time, and effort they put into it. You're getting to know a guy like it is the closest you can get to the Bassmaster Marshall experience without actually having been there. You become more true fans of the guy. You understand how their tournaments go on. And then it's going to get to it just like it was 8-10 years ago, where BTO is pretty much the only show in the game when it came to covering professional bass fishing. Now there's 15 options. Now you've got, am I going to watch Chris's feed? Am I going to watch X Angler's feed? Am I going to watch Y Angler's feed? Now they're earning those sponsor dollars. Now their personalities, the time, the effort, the quality of their product that they're putting forward is then returning to them based on how well they're doing. There's not people watching it because it's the only option. It's people watching it because, and you learn so much more through that. I love it as a complement to the live coverage, not part of the live coverage, not part of Bassmaster, but letting each of those anglers put their own personal touch on it to benefit the overall vibe of it. There's casual fans who don't want to watch Chris throw a Ned rig for 45 minutes straight at one hard spot, hoping to catch one 14-incher and save his day. They would rather watch the product on Bassmaster. Then there's also bass heads and nerds like me who that is just as exciting as watching the overall product. So I think you're going to see a lot of changes and kind of morphing and experimenting over the next couple years with the live as the technology gets better, the streaming, regardless of where they're fishing, gets better, and it becomes easier to mesh and link different cameras and viewpoints and people. But I really like the independent anglers stream where they use the Bassmaster platform, but they also show their value to their independent sponsors and their personalities to their fan bases. I hope it doesn't get to the point where, it would be interesting if you had all 100 to where, we've talked about this before, where you can just click on it and everyone is up and you can watch whoever and everyone has the same. But where it stands right now in today's market, that is separating what Chris is doing, what Logan Parks is doing, what a couple of the other guys are doing. That is what is separating them from the majority of the field. Had he not been streaming, we just did an hour and 40-minute show on, he was able to talk about the deep dive app that he's a part of. He was able to talk about his loaded swim bait that he designed that I'm sure he gets royalties on. We talked about the baits reels that are, one of his sponsors. He talked about the line. We talked about all sorts of things that organically got in there. And that was because of the time and effort that they've put into the streaming. So, great show tomorrow, working on a Bass Fishing Hall of Fame show. If you didn't get a chance to kind of go back and listen to yesterday's show, I thought it was a really good analysis of what went down over the year. Dakota Ebert, cool story of him taking a chance on himself after winning $1 million over on MLF and 2 wins and 50 top 20s over the past couple years. Jumping on the Elite Series, being the last man in the Bassmaster Classic currently. So we're exactly a month away from the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame. So we will talk about that tomorrow. Big shout out to Chris Zaldain and all the BTL sponsors. Same place, same time tomorrow. We'll talk to everyone then. See ya.